Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Adam.
Today, we are reviewing the new Brad Pitt action comedy Bullet Train, which is currently playing in theaters and doing better than any other movie at the moment. I think it did okay. August generally isn't a very big movie month. I think it made like $30 million or something, which isn't bad for an opening weekend. But with this big of a cast, probably hoping for more. But it certainly didn't flop by any means.
No, it looks like per IMDb, gross US and Canada is around 39 million, and worldwide looks like about 71. So pretty solid. I mean,
yeah. You want to tell the people what it's about?
Indeed, I do. Let me scroll back up. 5 assassins aboard a fast-moving bullet train find out their missions have something in common. So very descriptive.
That's it.
Very descriptive.
That's all you get.
It reminds me a lot of Smokin' Aces, where it's just like there's a bunch of people trying to do the same thing, and they all have guns, and they all are or are all trained killers.
So, sure. I've never seen Smokin' Aces, so I'll have to take your word for it. But yeah, this also, I found this interesting coming out so close to The Gray Man, which we all saw and we didn't bother reviewing because we were between meh and terrible.
Yeah, which is sad because it was one of my anticipated because of who was in it and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that they came out together, and I thought The Gray Man was terrible. I do not think this is terrible. I didn't love Bullet Train, but I think it's solid. And a big reason, so I think both movies are sort of they sort of come down from the Deadpool way of doing things, heavily inspired by Deadpool and kind of trying to infuse an action movie with a lot of snarky humor.
Yeah, agreed.
And the reason I liked this one better is because this seems to present itself as a comedy first with action in it, whereas The Gray Man is an action movie where they make these little quippy asides when they're about to be killed, and it just really bothered me.
Yeah, and they're similar but different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I mean, I think they both, you can see the Deadpool influence. I mean, this one even more so just because it's directed by David Leitch, who I believe he directed Deadpool 2. And Atomic Blonde, which I still have not seen.
Oh, I'd have to look at that. I don't know if I've seen that.
But yeah, so that makes a little more sense why this one feels like Deadpool a little bit. And I don't know about you, but I've kind of grown tired of the Deadpool sort of copycat movies at this stage. I mean, I feel like every so often a movie comes along that just has such a big impact and lives on in pop culture for so long and just the talk of the town forever that so many movies after that think oh, here's the new formula, just do that and you're golden and it's going to be good and people are going to love it. I think kind of the combination of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction in the early 90s from Tarantino did that. I think Deadpool did that as well, where we've just seen this as kind of the new formula for action movies where they've got to be infused with a lot of comedy. Even the Mission Impossible movies, which their first few iterations don't aim for humor at all.
No, they're very serious.
Yeah, and they add a little bit of humor, especially once they add Simon Pegg. And I know the first one came out before Deadpool, but they've continued that since then. And I think I did finish this and Gray Man thinking, thank God for the Mission Impossible movies because they just do this stuff so much better than these other two do. Again, not that I think this is bad, but I don't know. How do you feel about this and kind of just this sort of same feeling try hard or try really hard, but don't look like you're trying at all?
Yeah.
Sort of thing that we're getting from action comedies these days.
I think the genre of action comedy has shifted a little bit to focus on that type of thing. Cause A, that's what sells. B, I think that's just kind of how comedy has evolved recently. Ryan Reynolds got insanely popular, even before Deadpool was out. And that's always been his brand of comedy. They've added quippy clever sayings and stuff into a lot of movies. Marvel's got some stuff like that. So I don't know if it's like truly a Deadpool thing as much as it's just like the natural evolution. I'd say a lot of this is like internet culture or internet humor, because it's all like, if it's going to be a comment on a page or on a thread, it's got to be like a snappy something to get people to laugh. Like that's what you're looking for.
It felt a lot like they were looking for like memeable moments in this movie.
So that's like, I think that's where that comes from. And I would say that's like, that can be a detriment. I don't think this movie suffers from like lack of comedy or lack of action. I just think it's like, for me, I don't fault this movie for those things, or like what it is, what the comedy is, what the action is. I fault it for like storyline, and like it's your average action comedy movie. It's like, and I know you're not huge on the action genre, so this is a little bit different, but like I said, it's like Smoking Aces. Those aren't supposed to be incredible movies, but they're the serviceable ones. They're the fun ones that make up a large portion of those genres. I think these are the ones that like you can find, maybe they're a little bit more like closer to R-rated or mostly PG-13 because of the content of the jokes, or like some of the action can be more overwhelming or more intense. But those are the ones, again, I think you'd see on like TNT or FX movies, like the cable channel movies where they cut out some of that stuff. But I think that's kind of the broad where this movie would land. So it's never going to be as good as like a high budget, solid action movie, but it's never going to like sink down and be as terrible as, I can't even think of like a truly, truly terrible action movie off the top of my head. But I mean, that's why I said like The Gray Man is kind of different side of the same coin, because it's funny and the action's good and the acting is like whatever, but the actors that are in it are good. It's just not as one thing or the other, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of waffling a lot of opinions there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and with that, we can dive more specifically into Bullet Train, since that is the movie we're talking about. I really liked Brad Pitt, and that's kind of it as far as like big positives for me. I felt like there was a lot of this movie that it tries so hard to be cool, and it kind of gives us the same jokes, whether literally or like spiritually, just throughout the entire movie, where it tries to play a lot off of the like, this guy's a dangerous killer, but inside he's kind of a softie thing. And that's what a lot of the jokes are. Even the names of a lot of the characters are like, this guy's killed like 552 people in his life, but he goes by the name Lemon. Isn't that fun? Like, you know, Lemon and Tangerine. What's Brad Pitt's character? Ladybug.
Yeah,
so they
Ladybug
give us these like, I don't know, and it's always the same joke, and then kind of one of the characters interpreting life through a children's show.
Oh my god,
which is
I
supposed
actually really
to be
love that.
kind of man. So this movie's like a little over 2 hours long. I thought that was kind of the first time they did it, and they just keep doing it for like, it's a thread throughout the entire movie. And so I really found this exhausting in many ways, where like it's kind of the same jokes a lot, and it starts so fast and there's so much action all the time, where it's one of those movies where like I wasn't checking my phone during the theater screening. I bet it was 35 minutes in when I thought it was like an hour and 10 minutes in, just because of the like breakneck pace at which it moves. And it just really wore me down by the time we got to the finale.
That's true. I will say it moves fast, because like I would say by the hour 30 mark, or maybe hour 45, when we're getting really close to the end, I was like, all right, we got to be like really getting to our final fight. And they just like pack a little bit more in. Like I think it's about the time when spoil sort of, but they discover that snake, or like that snake is now like out. That's the part where I was like, shouldn't we be like closer to the end than we are?
It just constantly felt like we should have made more progress than we had. Yeah. And
especially
there's
for
a lot
train
of like,
that was supposedly like empty, and like we're the only people on it. And like,
I mean, there's a lot of walking up and down the cars and looking for this or that or him or her or whatever. And a lot of just sort of snappy conversations and a lot of flashbacks to like each one of the characters.
Yeah, there's a few
their
of
own
those.
Like,
like, wait, what?
Origin story, which some of them were all right. And then there were times when I just thought, like, what is this ad? And I don't know, those were kind of hit or miss. I liked that they at least tried to do something that took us off the train momentarily. Yeah, because there is nothing like actually present day that takes us off the train for more than like half a second every once in a while.
Yeah.
All the times we get off the train is when we're flashing back to basically see how somebody got to the train, which can work. It kind of was interesting how some of that all weaved together and some of it felt a little bit too cute for my taste. But when you're getting something where it's like, okay, there's 5 assassins here and they must be after the same thing. Like they need to connect somehow in ways that they don't quite understand. And I think for the most part that worked just fine. It was nothing mind blowing, but I didn't find any big holes in it or anything that I thought was ridiculous. It just kind of wore me down, except for Brad Pitt and his sunny disposition on life.
He's just so charismatic. He can carry any movie, and like that, it's a testament to how good of an actor and how like what the movies and choices he makes to choose or what choices he makes, what movies he chooses. Woof. To just a testament of like what he is and how good of an actor he is. I didn't struggle with this movie as much. I mean, this is more the genre I like, where you can turn your brain off and go into it and not really care too much. Because in that regard, I think like it's like kind of like Lucky Number 11, just like Smoking Aces, where it's kind of like almost like a bubblegum action movie, if I can say that. Like it's
I know
just,
what you mean.
It's just lighthearted enough. It's stylized. It's I mean, I feel like it takes place in Japan. I was going to say South Korea. So it's like a little bit more like cutesy, like at least like the mascot character, because like those are everywhere in Japan.
Right. They do play off that.
How light some of that stuff is. It really brought some freshness to the genre, where it can be all Deadpool stuff, or it can be all like, oh, we're going to impersonate John Wick now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think finding a good middle ground, this achieved that pretty well. The characters are fun and memorable-ish. Like I liked Tangerine and Lemon. They're not spectacularly good at their jobs or anything, but I liked their characters better than I liked like the Viper or whatever the hell her name was. But discovering who some of the characters are in this movie, like when you finally meet some of the like the cameo people that come in, I thought that was pretty fun. It's just like it's a very, very middle of the road action movie, it's a very middle of the road movie. It's a decent action movie. So depending on where you lie or like what kind of things you like to see, or if that's the type of movie that you want to go to the theater for, which I think that these can be a lot of fun when you go to a theater. I think it works. It's never going to be like blowing you away and like, oh my God, that was such a great, crazy scene, or that twist at the end, you know?
Sure. So, with that said, do you want to get into the stars?
Sure thing. We will be right back with our star rating. Welcome back. So star ratings. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to go?
I can go.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't love this, but I didn't think it was terrible either. It's kind of going to fall middle of the road for me. It's a 2.5 out of 5. I think it was fine.
Oh, that's much better than I thought you'd give it.
Oh, you thought I was going to go even lower?
Well, just based on what you've been saying, I was like, he's going to get a 2, probably like maybe a 1.5. But
Brad Pitt elevated this movie for me. I just really enjoyed watching him, and his phone conversations with Sandra Bullock were kind of fun, kind of the banter back and forth there. And he's just, like you said, he's just so charismatic and can just carry this whole thing, even though I found the rest of it kind of bleh. And there was nothing in the rest of it that like made me hate it or anything. I just kind of thought like, okay, this isn't as funny as it thinks it is. It's not as clever as it thinks it is. But Brad Pitt is pretty great, and I can watch him for a solid. I mean, he's not in the entire thing, but he's in a lot of the movie.
A lot of it,
and so he made this a perfectly fine overall experience for me.
Okay, 2.5, I think, is solid, and like I think that's pretty fair. I'm slightly above you. I'm at a 3.
All right.
Like I said, this is a middle movie. This is the stuff you'd find on TV, maybe even like FX movies later at night. A quick
Yeah.
shout out to some of the intros to some of the characters. Like when you find out who the White Death is, I like laughed out loud. Like I was laughing in the theater. My theater was pretty sparse, so like I didn't hear a lot of other people.
You
Which
mean
is
like who the
unfortunate.
actor was?
Yeah, who the actor was.
Yeah,
I
kept
love.
thinking like, God, who's it gonna be?
Yeah, I was just waiting to see like what kind of person it was going to be, and then it was that guy, and I just lost it.
Yeah.
So I was giggling throughout the entire movie. I also really like Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays the Elder.
Oh yeah.
He's in a ton of stuff. He's always, I mean, he's Japanese, a Japanese actor. He usually does like samurai stuff. He's trained in martial arts and combat and stuff like that. So he does that on a lot of movies. Notably, I think for me, the last one I saw him in was actually TV. It was the second season of Westworld.
Okay.
He's fantastic in that. But some of the other characters that you meet and you get introduced to are fun. I want to give another shout out to Karen Fukuhara, who is in The Boys. She plays the deaf character that teams up with the boys. I forget her name right now, the character name, but yeah, just a great middle of the road. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go see this in like IMAX. I wouldn't pay like top dollar to go see this movie.
Sure.
But like if this is like you're looking for something to do on a weeknight, you're trying to find like a fun date or something like that. Like this is perfect for that type of thing. A perfect 3 movie for me. It's a great example of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got anything else? Otherwise, I think it's my turn to put a wrap on the show.
Yeah, take it away.
When we are so quick to anger, we are so slow to understand.